anything in particular, which I'm sure you probably do. I got some things that we can go over, but what's going on with you?
Oh no, I'm just watching a little football right now. But we can talk a little body work.
Okay, you got anything in particular you want to rap about? Anything that's been bubbling on your mind, or you want to know what I got?
Yeah, I want to hear what you got, because it's always interesting, because you always have something that's always pertinent.
Well, what I have is the eye test. A lot of times, a lot of people get a lot of credit based on the eye test. But man, he looked like, and then you get to run around because you pass a lot of people's eye tests as far as how you look inside the ring. And I've been a victim of saying, oh man, like from the looks of everything, it looks like, man, this guy is the next, And I'm like, well, I've kind of gotten away from it. I've kind of like study boxers now behind the scenes and kind of like, make sure I see their fights. I take notes. I go back and look at the ones when I actually score the fights, and I look at what happened. Then I go and I look at that opponent's resume, and I see, what they were capable of. But the real reason why I brought that up is because last week you mentioned a guy that I call Sasquatch Feet, aka Jaron Boots Ennis. I mean, when I heard you get excited, I'm not gonna taint what you have or your perception about him by what I have, but I heard the excitement, and I said, man, maybe we need to start off with Boots, because Boots might, he might lead you into a throwback fight, or it might remind you of somebody. I just wanted to see where it would go. But I want to hear about you and Boots and the eye test, and and what made you actually start liking Boots.
Okay, what I like about Ennis is Ennis seems to be a very solid, good prospect for that division that he's in, that welterweight division. Boots Ennis right now, as far as I'm concerned, he is the prominent figure in the welterweight division, barring Earl Spence and Terrence Crawford. I think the best thing for Boots Ennis right now is to concentrate on trying to get a world title. Once he gets a world title, I do believe he's really going to come into the spotlight and come into his own. But it's difficult for him to get a world title right now with Bud and Spence owning the entire belts within that welterweight division. If Spence and Bud don't fight, and Earl makes the promise of moving up, that will definitely open up some belts in that welterweight division. And I think Ennis needs a belt, and he needs to be able to defend his championship. And once he do that, he's going to be very marketable, because where he is right now, he's a risk factor for a lot of welterweights. They don't want to put everything on the line fighting this guy, because he is a big risk. He is a total risk. And right now, it seems like the people in the upper echelons are staying away from him. Once again, he's a risk. He needs a title, and I don't know the best route for him to get it. Maybe getting a vacant title once Bud and Crawford is out the way. Bud and Spence is out the way. I don't know. Maybe Spence will fight him, but I just think that Spence's mind, as far as the welterweight division, is only eyed on Bud. If he can't get Bud, I believe he will move up. And if he moves up, I think that will be the best opportunity for Boots, because Boots is well deserving of fighting for a title. I don't know if Bud will even fight him. Bud is so suspect who he want to fight that I can't put no guarantee that Bud even wants to fight him. Because first of all, he's a risk. And I don't know if Bud will feel that the money is there, marketable, for him to put his belt on the line to fight him, because he may not get the kind of money that he would want to get. So that would be impeding a fight with him and Bud. So maybe the best thing for him, if Spence just vacates that division, move up, and then he can fight for a belt, and then he can defend his own belt and make himself marketable within that welterweight division, and draw some people that will have to come to him in order to get a title.
Yeah. So we said okay, he's high on everybody's eye test. We said that he's very high risk and relatively low reward, you know, for the damage, or you getting embarrassed, or, you know, you even getting knocked out. But I get the vibes, I've heard, and I kind of do get the vibes of generational talent. The only reason why I probably wouldn't stamp it just yet is because there's just a couple, I just want to see it against somebody. It's the same thing like with everybody, how I put everybody on the scale. I want to see him against a couple other people, even though he's embarrassed a lot of people, that like he made a lot of people look like easy work, you know, and I do like the triangle theories. But do you get generational talent? Like is his skill level like the type that you can say, like, you know, a la Roy Jones or Floyd, like those ones where they kind of separate from the pack? Because I think you said something about how he's already pretty much separated himself in the 147 division from the pack. It's just he's between a rock and a hard place, because the two major players got to settle business in order for him to, you know, try to, you know, grab that torch. But do you get generational talent when you think Boots?
Well, what I see is Boots is still a work in progress right now. And it's no telling how far Boots is going to go and how far respected he's going to be in that welterweight division. He's got to fight some quality opponents, and in fighting those quality opponents, we will really get a better view of just how talented he is. But because he's between a rock and a hard place, he can't get the big fights right now underneath a title shot. I mean, there was some talk that, you know, there was going to be some fights with him with what's the guy? He
Thurman.
said that he was who?
Thurman at one time was contemplating fighting him, but then Thurman said something to the point that he wasn't going to be used, he wasn't going to be this to promote Boots. So the upper talent in that welterweight division, they stand away from him. They know he's a threat. So once again, I think the best things that could happen for Ennis right now is for Spence to vacate the welterweight division. All right, so
if he does, that will open up 3 belts, and he will be well deserving of fighting for one of those 3 belts. It doesn't even make a difference which one, because once he gets a belt, then he can then establish his own progress and where he's gonna finally fit in that welterweight division. Because until he gets a title belt or title shot, he's kind of caught in limbo a little bit. The only way to break through is to get a strap and to be able to defend that strap, and then the world's gonna have to recognize the talent that he really is. But right now, it's just being hindered because those at the top are just not fighting him right now. And I don't even know if a fight with him and Spence would even be feasible for Spence, because he's talking about vacating the division.
Yeah, I think I believe that it's the IBF, right? I think he'll be up for the IBF, and traditionally the IBF been, pretty stand up about, representing their champions, and if you're in line, doing right by the people in line. But lately, everybody's kind of been getting caught up in the same kind of dilemma. But what I was going to say is I saw something where Boots and Bozy and his brother, they were actually talking, because the news that came out about how Bud took this fight with Avanesian, and they were 38 hot. They were mad, and they were saying that, look, you don't want to fight. Basically the same thing I told you yesterday, which was ironic. That I'm talking about, man, I wanted to send you the video, but basically the same thing when we talked yesterday. The same thing. And remember, I ran down all them names from Danny Garcia to Thurman, and how you took Khan, and how we talked about Green Machine, and then he's like, now you ain't fighting Spence, but then you gonna give us David Avanesian. And he was like, why not Boots? And then he was, you can tell, because I think leading up into that point, they were pretty respectful when they were talking about Bud. They were like, doing the political thing, which you should, say, state your confidence in how you think you would beat him. But they were also saying, yeah, man, Bud, good fighter, this and this and that. And nobody really argues if he's a good fighter. They just question the behavior outside the ring leading to the big fights. And they were upset. So for me, I kind of put the what ifs as far as Bud and Spence and all that, I put those behind me, right? Because it's frustrating, because Bud is the wild card. He has that final piece. I don't know why it's so hard, because you knew this was coming, a la Caleb Plant versus Ginger. We didn't get that same energy. Everybody was like, man, Caleb just need to take this and this. Now everybody want to be a lawyer, and they saying, oh man, Bud, he's part of the biggest. I'm like, nah, man, it wasn't the same energy. I don't have the same energy for Earl that y'all have for Ginger. And because I get frustrated about it, I say, let me parking lot that. My question for you is the landscape of 147 after it clears out. I wanna ask, like, just a glimpse, or let's play some fantasy boxing real quick. You got Ugas. I don't think he's going to 154. You have Virgil Ortiz. You have Stan Giannis. You have a guy that's coming from Golden Boy, who was a hidden gem, who Golden Boy pretty much grabbed him and shelved him. I think they did that on purpose. They wanted to promote Alexis Rojas, even though Alexis Rojas is a good fighter as well. He's a good fighter. So I think that on Golden Boy, they just had an agenda. But those are some of the names: Speedy Rashidi Ellis, Virgil Ortiz, Yordanis Ugas, and Stan Giannis. Those are some of the names at 47. How does Boots, just looking at it, we don't know until they get in the ring, but how you think Boots fare against them guys once it's cleared out? If we eliminate Spence and Bud and Thurman. Well, you can throw Thurman in there too, but we talked about him.
You're talking about a very competitive division. And I think that Boots will do well against anybody in the welterweight division, but all of these guys that you just mentioned, all of these guys will be good tests for Boots. The only problem is, the only way that these guys will actually fight, in my viewpoint, is that if Spence gets out the way and these belts are made available, then these guys have something to fight towards, getting that belt. Right now, fighting each other, it's a big risk factor, because if you lose, you drop your name down on that list for title contention. So you got a group of fighters that's in that welterweight division right now that would actually benefit from Spence vacating that division and moving up. That would open up 3 belts. And then that will create a fight-off situation where guys are able to fight each other in preparation of getting a title shot and getting a strap. These guys right now, I don't think want to risk the opportunity of losing and taking themselves out of contention, because in a little bit, 3 belts might be open, and then you have guys that can fight for them. Why risk everything right now, you know, and possibly lose, taking yourself out of contention? Because I just think these guys, you know, it will benefit the welterweight division if Spence leaves the welterweight division. It will really open up a path on who's going to rise to the top. I really believe that.
Yeah, because you know, I rested on the fact that, man, Spence is that guy right now, and he really wanted the Undisputed, so I understand, you know, if he were to move up, why. You know, I told you I always thought that Bud was one of them guys to where the first two people make the first 2 shots, so they get to pick the team, and if Bud don't get picked first, since it's his basketball, he's gonna take it and go home. And where I grew up from, I always say you the got your ass beat. So I don't, you know, I know Earl is the man, and that if he leaves, he will open it up, right? But after this, you made a good point. I'm gonna segue to something else before because you made a good point. I'm gonna come back to the taking a loss thing. I'm gonna get that tie in, but I want to ask so we can wrap up on Boots, because I like the X's and O's. As far as what he do, like you like him offensively, and do you see what would you be questioning? Because I know that one of them is like, we don't look for boxers to actually make their chin available, but we do want to know, you know, can he be able to take a good shot, or can anybody actually make him adjust, or if you go up against somebody that has good tutelage, somebody that can actually take away something from him and make him do something else. What good things do you see about him, and do you have any question marks?
Right now, I don't have a lot of question marks about him, because everybody who has been put in front of him, he's been able to dismantle without major difficulty. The only thing with Ennis is that the caliber of his competition, once it improves, I think it will answer a lot of questions about it. So far, the competition that he has him into any type of desperate situations. So it's the individuals that are staying away from him that will allow us to figure out where he stands, what type of adjustments will he have to make, is he able to do it? You know, the Thurmans, the Ugas, you know, these type of individuals, these are the better individuals, and these are the individuals that's really gonna test you. Boots is not being totally tested right now because the level of competition that can test him with these things are just staying away from him.
Yeah.
He's just too big of a risk right now. I just think right now, for the welterweight division as a whole, the best thing that could happen for the welterweights that will create a frenzy, if Spence leaves the division and vacates those 3 belts, you're going to see like a school of piranhas circling, trying to, you know, fight for food, trying to, you know, be that dominant person. But until that happens, we kind of stalemated a little bit.
Yeah, I feel you. I feel you because his father, at one point in time, his father said that 16 fighters actually said no. And so I don't blame him for the level of competition. And you gotta stay active. I applaud him for being active. He looks spectacular. He makes people like Lipinets, who retired, one of my boxers. I used to like Lamont Peterson, but he retired Lamont Peterson at Lipinets, and then he go in there with boots and get slapped around and get used like a tool. You know what I'm saying? So the level of competition, man, right now, he doing what he's supposed to do. He's saying what he need to say. I think he's being moved the right way. He got a Showtime deal, and he pretty much got to tough it out. Now, I want to segue into this because you brought it up, and I wanted to get your take going back. Like, let's go back a little bit historically. Because I'm just asking because this is the culture that I've been around. And I've watched it. I would say that Tyson era, Roy Jones era, that's really when I really was kind of like paying attention to boxing and being conscious about it. So I've been around. I just don't have the seasons. I haven't been around as many seasons as you. And I want to know, was it always this emphasis about taking a loss? Because nowadays, it's like it's so much emphasis on, how you're marketable and how, like, the perception of, oh, well, if you took a loss, then you ain't no good no more. And, I want to ask historically, when you looking at some of the boxers of the past, all those eras that you went through, like, is it more of an emphasis now that if you take a loss, that it's over, or that your perception? Because I don't recall it being like that. I recall it being aware if you take a loss, okay, you was fighting the best, but once you get back, and it might happen to be a trilogy, but that was the last thing on your mind. I mean, everybody going there thought they was going to win, but have you seen the difference, or how was it? Speak to that.
Okay, I think the big difference in the fight game now is the amount of money that these guys are making now. Strategically, when you're trying to make the most money you can make, you're trying to do it without having any flaws on your resume. And when you take a loss nowadays, if that loss is not against the upper echelons, and you put up a good fight, that will still keep you marketable. But for some reason, America, we love winners. We love the person who wins. When you lose a fight, you have to automatically come back and prove that you're worthy of being right back where you was before you took that loss. But strategically, the fight game, everybody wants to avoid everybody. People don't want to fight somebody that's a risk for them unless there's a lot of money involved. So back in the day when the purses weren't as big, fighters had to fight in order to make money. They had to constantly fight because the salaries that was out there aren't the salaries that's out here now. So therefore, when a guy lost, back in the day, the main thing he wanted to do was get back in the ring to fight some more, to make some more money so that he can then perpetuate himself for another payday. Guys today, they're not fighting the total amount of fights that guys did back in the day. Because they are making more money, they can be a little more selective in the fights that they take. Back in the day, these guys were hungry. They wanted that money, and the only way you could get the money was to fight. Endorsements and all weren't anything like they are today, where you got some guys that's making more money on endorsements than they do on purses. So guys back in the day, they fought. They had to fight.
But
you know, and if you wasn't fighting for a championship fight, you fought for something else because you were trying to make money for your family.
let me ask you something, but don't that kind of like compromise the sport, because you get people who want to be, because at the point in time where if you say, well, it ain't enough money and it ain't that, then at that point in time it don't matter. I mean, because somebody in your same division, all our Boots and Bud, and the fans are saying this is the fight we want, which we pay for it, regardless who put it together and do all that and present it to us. Us as consumers.